$28 million. A now defunct company, a mysterious connection to an NBA owner. On the surface, it appears to be an endorsement. However, in reality, it's precisely the type of agreement the league's rulebook was designed to scrutinize. In short, it forbids any team or team affiliate from giving a player or a company tied to them extra compensation outside their NBA contract if it's connected to their team employment. Oh, and the actual number isn't 28 million, it's 48 million. I'll come back to that. Welcome to MimiLeaks, where we dissect high-stakes legal and contractual news to bring you the facts. The league has an entire set of rules for outside income. They affect Kawhi Leonard and every other player in the NBA. Let's start with why those rules and this number matter to every fan, no matter your team. Rules protect the game, and if a deal like this is ignored, owners can essentially buy around the cap through side channels, and the entire balance between big market and small market teams tilt. The cap is meant to keep competition credible. Circumvention erodes that balance. If you're a fan of a small market team, you want to know that a deep-pocketed owner can't quietly add millions in value outside the cap. If you're a fan of big market team, you want to know that the rules are clear and clear enough to follow without tripping into penalties. And fans remember every time the league let a deal slide or came down hard, because it shapes the perception of fairness. The NBA's salary cap is a soft ceiling on team payrolls. Teams can exceed it in certain ways: bird rights, mid-level exceptions, rookie scale contracts. These exceptions are written into the collective bargaining agreement and they're public. But there's a hard line. Teams can't promise or provide outside compensation tied to a player's decision to sign, re-sign, or stay. That is called circumvention. If value flows to a player because of their team employment, it belongs inside the cap. If it's truly independent, fair market value, no team involvement, no contingency on team choice, it can live outside the cap. Let's briefly discuss a few prior investigations before we look at how we got here with the Clippers and Leonard. In 1999, the Minnesota Timberwolves lost 5 first-round picks and paid $3.5 million in fines over hidden promises to Joe Smith. The team signed him to a series of below-market one-year deals with an under-the-table agreement for a massive extension later. That's textbook circumvention. It's team involvement, contingency, inflated value, and concealed documentation. Fast forward to 2013. Andrei Kirilenko opts out of a $10 million player option, then signs with Brooklyn for just over $3 million. The league investigated because of AK-47's personal ties to Nets owner Mikhail Prokhorov. In the end, they found no evidence of team involvement or contingency, and the deal passed the tests. In 2004, Carlos Boozer and the Cleveland Cavaliers had a handshake understanding about a future contract. Boozer signed with Utah instead. That saga led to stricter rules on handshake deals and reinforced the need for written, disclosed agreements. The Joe Smith case showed how a hidden promise can cost a team years of draft capital. Kirilenko's review showed that not every eyebrow-raising deal ends in sanctions, but both followed the same investigative playbook. Where Kirilenko's deal passed the smell test, the Boozer saga illustrated why handshake understandings are now treated with suspicion. Beyond those 3 examples, the league has also fined the Bulls and the Heat for early contact with Lonzo Ball and Kyle Lowry, and hit the Knicks for tampering in Jalen Brunson signing. Different rules, same principle. Protect competitive balance, and keep every team playing by the same book. Those lessons are baked into today's CBA, and they're the same rules being applied to the $28 million question now. If you like seeing the rulebook applied to real-world headlines minus the sensational opinions, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the next breakdown. And if you know a fan who also would want to see how this plays out, share this with them. Reviews can start for a lot of reasons. A tip, a media report, or, as in Kawhi Leonard's case, a bankruptcy filing. Aspiration, a financial tech company that pivoted into climate projects like tree planting, later rebranded as CTN Holdings, and at its 2021 peak, it drew in high-profile investors and financiers, like Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. It filed for bankruptcy in March of 2025. In that bankruptcy filing, Aspiration listed creditors with unsecured claims, including one owed $7 million. That company, KL2 Aspire LLC, is managed by Kawhi Leonard, presumably named after his initials and jersey number. According to Pablo Torre, who broke the story on his show, that $7 million represented the final year of a 4-year, $28 million contract with Aspiration, structured to be paid in quarterly installments. This was backed by the Boston Sports Journal on September 4th, 2025, who went further, reporting a source confirmed Leonard was also promised an additional $20 million in company stock to be distributed over 4 years from the personal holdings of Joseph Sandberg. Who is Sandberg? He is one of Aspiration's co-founders, and on August 21st, 2025, he agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud in connection with a $248 million scheme to defraud investors and lenders. On September 11th, more revelations came from Torre. Newly obtained bank records showed that in 2022, as Aspiration was collapsing, they fell behind in one of Leonard's $1.75 million quarterly payments. He also reported DEA 88 Investments, a company tied to Clippers minority owner Dennis Wong, wired nearly $2 million into Aspiration. 9 days later, Leonard's overdue payment was made in full. Torre first reported that Ballmer had put $50 million into Aspiration. Days later, The Athletic confirmed the figure in an article, citing legal filings and a former company executive. But wait, there's more. Just this past Thursday, September 18th, Torre dropped another round of financial breadcrumbs. On April 1st, 2022, the Clippers wired $3 million into Aspiration and another $32.4 million on April 4th, which was the very day Kawhi inked his $28 million Aspiration deal. Then came a $21 million bailout from the Clippers CFO, weeks before Leonard's first payment was due. Additionally, we learned that Ballmer personally poured another $10 million into Aspiration in March 2023. It's a messy timeline, and for the NBA, they can't just look away. The contracts themselves raise questions. Then there's the timing of Wong's wire and of Ballmer's. Just weeks after Leonard signed his extension, and days before the Clippers announced a $300 million sponsorship deal with the same company, which is, if nothing else, partially why the league is considering whether this was a sponsorship gone bad or an attempt to skirt the salary cap. The league's penalty ladder starts at the bottom with no action. The deal is cleared, no violation. Next are fines against the team, the player, or both. Then comes the loss of a first-round draft pick, the harshest competitive penalty because it can shape a roster for years. At the very top, the most flagrant of fouls, voiding the player's contract, rare but possible in extreme cases. The NBA has hired an outside law firm, and Adam Silver warned that this won't be quick. These kinds of probes can stretch for months, sometimes into the following offseason, which means the Clippers could be playing this entire season under a cloud, with the league's hammer still hanging overhead. And on September 20th, Aspiration's non-convicted co-founder, Andre Cherny, re-entered the story, reportedly forced out after flagging fraud, which may actually lend credibility to the very contract under fire. More on Cherny soon in a MimiLeaks update. The scandal itself may center on the Clippers and Leonard, but every team and every star has to live with the precedent this review sets. Future CBAs could tighten endorsement rules, requiring league-approved valuations or banning deals with owner-linked entities entirely. That would close the loophole before it's tested again and give teams and players a clearer line to follow. For now, the question isn't just whether Kawhi Leonard got paid. It's whether the system itself holds up when the money, the timing, and the ownership all collide. Where would you put the Leonard deal on the penalty ladder? Is it worthy of fines, loss of draft picks, voiding the contract, nothing at all? Whatever it is, drop your take in the comments and tell me which pass case you think is the closest match. If you would like to watch more videos about sports contracts, watch the videos on your screen next. Thanks so much for watching, and please remember to like, subscribe, and that sharing is caring.